Scary telling.
I remember the feeling of the pressure building within my yoga pants, a growing sense of something sinister lurking just beneath the surface. At first, I tried to ignore it, telling myself that it was just my imagination running wild. But the pressure only continued to grow until it became too much to bear. That's when I made the mistake of releasing a small amount of the evil that was contained within my yoga pants. I thought that it would be enough to ease the pressure, to make me feel more comfortable again. But as soon as I did, I knew that I had made a grave mistake. The evil that I had contained within my yoga pants was not like any ordinary evil. It was something beyond comprehension, something that should have never been allowed to exist in this world. And by releasing even a small amount of it, I had set off a chain of events that would put my entire hometown in danger. I didn't realize it at the time, of course. I just thought that I had finally found a way to feel comfortable in my own skin again. But as I walked around town, I could sense that something was different. There was a palpable tension in the air, a sense of unease that I couldn't quite place. It wasn't until later that night, when I heard the first reports of strange occurrences happening in town, that I realized what I had done. The evil that I had released was spreading, taking on a life of its own and wreaking havoc wherever it went. I tried to warn people, to tell them that they needed to be careful, but no one would listen. They just dismissed me as crazy, or worse, accused me of being the cause of the strange occurrences. As the days went by, the evil continued to spread, consuming everything in its path. People started to go missing, and those who remained became more and more paranoid and fearful. I felt a deep sense of guilt and shame, knowing that it was all my fault. If only I had never released the evil from my yoga pants, none of this would have happened. But it was too late for regrets now. I had to find a way to stop the evil before it was too late. And so, I set out on a journey to find the source of the darkness that had taken over my hometown. I knew it would be dangerous, that I was risking my own life to try to make things right. But I couldn't just sit back and watch as my town was consumed by the evil that I had unleashed. As I walked down the empty streets, the weight of my guilt pressing down on me, I knew that I had a long and treacherous road ahead of me. But I was determined to see it through, no matter what the cost. The further I walked from the town center, the more pronounced the strange occurrences became. The trees that once lined the streets now looked twisted and gnarled, as if they were trying to escape from the soil that held them in place. Strange, guttural noises echoed in the distance, and I could hear the sound of something scratching against the walls of nearby buildings. Despite the growing sense of danger, I continued on, driven by a need to find the source of the evil that had taken over my hometown. As I walked, I tried to warn people, to tell them that they needed to evacuate the town before it was too late. But they just looked at me with suspicion and told me that I was the one who had caused all this. It was clear to me that I was alone in this fight, that no one would believe me or help me. And so, I trudged on, through the overgrown forests and deserted streets, my heart pounding in my chest with every step. The first sign of the evil's true power came when I stumbled upon a group of townspeople who had been transformed into grotesque creatures. They were barely recognizable as human, with twisted limbs and glistening eyes that seemed to glow in the darkness. I knew then that the evil had taken on a life of its own, that it was spreading like a disease and consuming everything in its path. I had to stop it before it was too late. As I continued on, the strange occurrences only became more pronounced. The air grew thick with an acrid smell, and I could see strange symbols etched into the walls of abandoned buildings. And then, I saw it. The source of the darkness. It was a swirling vortex of black energy, pulsating and throbbing with a malevolent force that threatened to consume everything around it. I knew then that I had to act fast. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come, and charged forward. As I got closer to the vortex, the malevolent force became almost unbearable. I felt as if the darkness was trying to crush me, to consume me whole. But I pushed on, driven by a fierce determination to save my town and make amends for the mistake that I had made. I reached the edge of the vortex and could feel its power pulsating through my body. For a moment, I hesitated. I wasn't sure if I could do this alone, if I had the strength and courage to face the evil head-on. But then, I thought of my town, of the people that I had grown up with and loved. And I knew that I had no choice. With a deep breath, I stepped into the vortex. The darkness surrounded me, enveloping me in its cold embrace. I felt as if I was being pulled apart, my very essence being torn away piece by piece. But somehow, I found the strength to resist. I focused all of my energy on pushing back against the darkness, on using the power of my own will to fight against the evil that had consumed my town. It was a grueling battle, one that lasted for what felt like an eternity. I felt as if I was teetering on the brink of oblivion, on the edge of a bottomless abyss that threatened to swallow me whole. But somehow, I found the strength to keep going. I pushed back against the darkness with all of my might, channeling every last ounce of energy and willpower that I possessed. And then, finally, I felt a shift. The darkness seemed to recede, to pull back from my body and my mind. The vortex began to shrink until it was just a small, contained ball of energy. I had done it. I had defeated the evil that had threatened to consume my town. As I stumbled out of the vortex, my body aching and my mind reeling, I knew that I had done what I had set out to do. But at what cost? The guilt and shame that I had been carrying with me since the release of the evil now felt even heavier. Yes, I had saved my town, but I had also been the cause of its destruction in the first place. As I trudged back to my town, I knew that I had a long and difficult road ahead of me. But I also knew that I had the strength to face it, to try to make amends for the mistake that I had made. Returning to the town, I found that the people were grateful for what I had done, but also wary of me. They saw me as the cause of the destruction that had befallen them, and no matter what I did, I knew that I could never erase the guilt that I felt. But I didn't have much time to dwell on my own feelings. I knew that there was still work to be done, that I couldn't let my guard down until I was certain that the evil had been sealed away for good. I went back to the source of the darkness, the small ball of energy that I had contained within myself. It was pulsating, still alive with a malevolent force that I knew could break free at any moment. I prepared myself for the final battle, knowing that this time I might not be so lucky. The energy was stronger now, more determined to break free and wreak havoc on the world. I could hear its voice in my mind, a twisted, malevolent force that seemed to be laughing at me. It told me that I would never be able to contain it, that I was too weak and too flawed to ever defeat it. But I refused to listen. I drew upon every last ounce of my strength and focused all of my energy on pushing back against the darkness. The battle was fierce and brutal. The darkness seemed to come at me from all sides, threatening to overwhelm me at every turn. But somehow, I found the strength to keep going, to keep fighting. And then, finally, I felt a shift. The energy began to waver, to weaken under the force of my will. I pushed harder, determined to seal it away for good. And then, suddenly, it was over. The energy dissipated, leaving behind nothing but a feeling of emptiness and exhaustion. I collapsed to the ground, my body aching and my mind reeling. But I also felt a sense of relief, of knowing that I had done what needed to be done. As I looked around at the town, I saw that people were no longer afraid of me. They had seen what I had done, and they knew that I had saved them from the darkness that had threatened to consume them. I knew that I would never be able to erase the guilt that I felt, but I also knew that I had done what I could to make amends. The darkness had been defeated, and my town could now begin to heal. It was a long and difficult road, but I knew that I had the strength to face it. And as I walked away from the source of the darkness, my mind still reeling from the battle, I knew that I had done what needed to be done. In the aftermath of the battle, the town slowly began to heal. People started to come out of their homes again, and the once empty streets were filled with the sounds of laughter and conversation. But I knew that things would never be the same. The darkness had left its mark on the town and on me. I couldn't shake the feeling of guilt and shame that still hung over me, no matter how hard I tried. I tried to move on, to find a way to live with what I had done. But it was hard. Everywhere I went, I could feel the weight of people's stares, the silent accusation that I had been the one to cause all this. But I refused to let it get to me. I knew that I had done what needed to be done, that I had saved my town from certain destruction. And even though I couldn't erase the past, I could choose to live differently moving forward. I threw myself into my work, doing everything I could to help rebuild the town and make amends for my mistake. It was hard work, but it helped to distract me from the guilt that I felt. And slowly but surely, things started to get better. The town began to thrive again, and people started to forgive me for what I had done. It wasn't easy, but I was learning to forgive myself, too. And then, one day, something amazing happened. A young girl came up to me on the street and thanked me for what I had done. She told me that she had been afraid for so long that she had thought the darkness would never go away. But because of me, it had. And now, she felt like she could start living again. That moment was a turning point for me. It reminded me that even though I had made a mistake, I had also done something good. And that good had helped to make a difference in someone's life. From then on, I started to see things differently. I still carried the weight of my guilt with me, but I also knew that I had the power to do good in the world. And so, I continued to work hard to help rebuild my town and make it a better place. And even though I knew that I could never erase the past, I also knew that I could use it to help shape a better future.